It's disturbing. It's beyond surprising. It's extremely disturbing. When people looked at the list, it was all people who look like me. It was pretty much, I won't say all of them, but it was predominant. The majority of us look like me.
Jamie worked at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and says her dismissal in May wasn't just unexpected, it felt targeted.
You want to believe in this day and age that things like that are still not going on, that we are targeted, given the impact that we make, given what we bring to the table, given our education, given our expertise, given our commitment to the roles. But at the end of the day, if it has to be me and Sally, it's Sally.
Allison Todd tells a similar story. She was let go from the United Way in June after 10 years. Another highly qualified professional suddenly without a job.
We have a bright light. Most of us have double degree, advanced degree. I have my graduate degree. We have experience beyond experience.
Experts say the mass exit is driven in part by budget cuts in the federal and public sectors and the dismantling of DEI programs, where black women historically have held positions.
A black woman is resilient, no matter what she's been through. As a black woman, you have to be. And what I found was a lot of us were managing up. Is that what it is when you manage the people who are in charge of you? Sharing information with them, onboarding them so that they can successfully let us go.
Allison is now turning to entrepreneurship, helping business owners build their own companies. And Jamie is returning to the job market, optimistic for her future.
I just want to encourage those out there in my same situation to, don't give up hope. There's still a need for us. Just wake up with the purpose every day of knowing that you bring value.
Tariffs on imported goods. Economists expected the U.S. to add 75,000 net new jobs in August, which would have been alarmingly low. Instead, only 22,000 materialized, and the unemployment rate rose to 4.3%. That was a slight jump from July. But black Americans have seen their jobless rate jump even faster. At 7.5%, they currently face the highest unemployment rate of any racial group, higher than the white population at 3.7%, higher than Asians at 3.6%. Both groups have jobless rates, by the way, which are below the overall population unemployment rate of 4.3%. But if you dig deeper, the sharpest spike even there is happening among black women. Take a look at this graph. In February, when President Trump was settling down into the White House again, there were more than 10.5 million black women working in the labor force. But according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 306,000 have lost their jobs since then, stripping around $37 billion from the U.S. economy, according to the gender economist Katika Roy. Many economists point to Trump's massive cuts to the federal workforce as the driving factor. This is interesting. Black women alone make up over 12% of federal employees. That's nearly double their share of the labor force overall. And that's not by accident. For decades, black women have pursued public sector jobs as a pathway to the middle class. Government jobs often come with civil service protections against discrimination and pay inequity, which is critical because black women still face the largest wage gap in America even today. But those protections are evaporating. Many of the agencies that Donald Trump targeted in his budget cuts are agencies where black women make up a larger share of the staff. For example, the Department of Education. 28% of employees were black women. The department staff was cut by nearly 46%.
Welcome back, fellow escapees. Welcome back to my channel where I help burnt out corporate employees ditch their boring 9-to-5 and create a life of financial freedom. So we have been hearing these reports about 300,000 plus black women have lost their jobs since Trump DEI and federal administration cuts. But in my research, since the pandemic, black women have been losing their job at an accelerated rate. And many of these black women have never been able to enter the workforce again. And I am a part of the statistics of women who, never went back into the workforce and just had to create opportunities on my own. So I definitely know about this topic, and also this is why the channel was created, because I had to find an alternative to what was going on in corporate America and how we're treated as black women in corporate America. Now, I know a lot of different people will watch this video, but as a black woman and as black women who will watch this video, what those issues are that we face in the workforce, and our mothers have faced it, grandmothers and aunts and other women who have decided to have careers have also faced the discrimination and lack of opportunity, and equality and pay, equality and promotions, inequality in just having the same respect as our peers, things like that. You guys know how we're treated. We've been talking about it in our community for many, many years, and how we're constantly having to fight for this, to have an equal opportunity to have the promotions, the pay, the job titles. Like, we went to school, we're the most educated women in the world, and we went to college, we work hard, we work overtime, we sacrifice time with our family, our friends, and our loved ones, and we also sacrifice ourselves, our body, our health, our minds, just so that we can fit in and move up in these careers. And we're still faced with a lot of obstacles. So in my research, I have found out we are like the last one hired most of the time and the first one fired most of the time. And opportunities are taken away from us and given to males first, and this is statistically known. It's not like I'm just, making this stuff up, or just, what's that word, like complaining about, not having the same opportunities as our male counterparts. All women have are kind of like subordinates to men in most hierarchies, societies. I'm not hierarchies, patriotic societies. Most women face, discrimination in jobs, in sexual harassment at jobs, and we've been going through this since the beginning of time, and it doesn't matter our race. But for Black women, especially here in America, because that's where I'm filming, that's where I'm from, it has always been known that when a job opportunity opens up in our country, the jobs were supposed to be given to white males first. Then I believe it's like in the order of like white women, and then it becomes immigrants, and then Blacks, like on that level. So we've always had trouble with equality. There have been programs, the DEI and affirmative action, and there's been always so much controversy around those programs, because some people felt like, if it wasn't for those programs, then, Black women would not, or even Black males would not be able to have the jobs they have. But we should not even need a program. So that just goes to show you the kind of racism in this country and in the society, that we need programs and legislations to give us the right to have, opportunities in this country that we built, so that we can have a better life for our families and our community. And then they talk about they want crime to go down in these minority communities. But if people and their family can't survive, what do you think is going to happen in these communities? So over the years, of course, there's been a lot of improvements. There's been a lot of opportunities, but at the same time, it's all had to been it feels like we all had to keep fighting for them. It shouldn't have been that we needed these programs to benefit or be implemented so that companies can have some type of incentives to hire us. That should never have been the case. So to me, if you needed the program, it just shows you there was racism and sexism in the workforce. So I know people on the internet have been saying like the DEI program, well, a lot of more white women have benefited from that program than Black women or Hispanic women or whatever. Maybe that's the case, but still, it was implemented under that program. Once it was cut by the Trump administration, then a lot of Black women suffered. So I want to just go over some statistics that I found and just talk about what we can do as women going forward. But this is floating around. I don't really know how accurate this is. It's just statistics that I found, but we already know AI is taking over. So according to the guy who invented AI, he said AI is very detrimental to society. It's going to destroy society. But at the same time, he invented it. He had to invent it. It was going to come regardless. He had to, they were going to work on it, whether it was him or someone else, they were going to invent this technology. But because this technology has been invented, they predict that a lot of jobs are going to be eliminated over the next some jobs have already been eliminated. We know that. We know people are complaining that their job has already been replaced by AI. And how you can prove this in technology and automation, how you can prove this is if you go into a Walmart these days, a CVS pharmacy, Walgreens, and certain restaurants, they don't even have employees anymore. You just walk up to the kiosk in some restaurants and you press a button, you pay, and you order your food, and someone in the kitchen cooks. But there's no more cashiers, there's no more greeters. Some of these fast food restaurants, you place your order on, like I said, the box or the kiosk, the drive-through, and then there might be a few employees back there making it or some kind of machine pumping it out or whatever. Amazon is already using robots to in their warehouses. So those were jobs that people needed, and they were replaced with the robot. This one guy in technology, he made a video about how he worked in tech. We know right now, tech jobs, a lot of people who work in tech are complaining that they have been laid off. So tech has a major layoff right now, if you look that up, and that is known. So the guy called one of his old employees, and coworkers, and he was like, oh, hey man, just kind of catching up with his old coworker and just like, hey man, how's everything going at the job? The guy was like, yeah, everything's good, man. And he was like, so who did they hire for my role? He was like, oh, they didn't hire anybody. It's replaced by AI. So it's already been proven. So 53% of people of color, they are expecting that it's going to hit people of color the worst. So 50%, they're claiming 53% of people of color jobs are expected to be replaced by AI by the year 2030, which is only 5 years away. And since I'm filming this video at the end of almost close to the end of the year, we're really almost 4 years away from this. So we're 4 years away. Let's just use 5 to 10 years away. So the jobs are slowly already being taken away, and that's why people cannot go back into the workforce, because they can't find jobs. When there are jobs right now like Amazon warehouse, Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, DoorDash, McDonald's, Walmart, Target, Sephora's. There's jobs like what most people consider the lower entry level, starting college or high school job, or retiree kind of part-time jobs. Those jobs, there's no openings for them. Like if you go on their website, yeah, they may post it, but they're really not hiring. Those are called fake job postings, just so the companies can look like they're still hiring and they're doing well. But a lot of people have reported that those jobs do not really exist and they're not real. And people who have applied and those jobs did interview them, a lot of them are saying there was like 200 to 3,000 people applying for those jobs. Either the HR manager told them, or if you went on LinkedIn and it was how on LinkedIn you can see how many applicants there were for a particular job. So either the HR manager told them, they saw it when they were applying, say X amount of people apply for this job on a website, or one guy went to a career fair in Texas, and he said it was like an oil and gas, I think. He said, 5,000 men showed up or something. I don't know if there was some women, but there's like 5,000 people showed up for one job opening. So they're claiming that the blacks will be, like blacks, minorities, and people of color will be hit first. And I think that with us talking about these black women being laid off, 300,000 is just 90 days alone. Usually that many black women don't get laid off in a daggone year. So if they're laying them off at that rate in 90 days, you can only imagine what is trickling down right now. Some of these black women have reported to me that they have been out of work 1, 2, and 3 years already. Like I said, it started during the pandemic. So people have been out of work, or they've been looking for, they've been working some kind of like really low entry level minimum wage job or side job, or Uber or Lyft if they are doing that. But I just want to get this warning out there that we are 5 to 10 years away from 53% of our people of color not being able to go back into the workforce or finding jobs. They say about 60% of black women are the breadwinners of the homes these days. So what that means is it's going to affect a lot of families and communities if that is the case. They are also reporting 4 million jobs are occupied or expected to be replaced by automations in the next 5 to 7 years. So about 4 million black jobs that minorities hold. Okay. So just like I said in some of the other videos, if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys like and subscribe so you can be getting these videos, because I'm going to be producing a lot of content daily. And I'm going to be keeping up with what's going on in the markets, as well as what you should be preparing for and what you should do to plan your corporate escape. But if you watch some of my other videos, I emphasize this a lot. You do not own these companies. You're never guaranteed a job. No one has to hire you. You got to understand that you have to start taking like matters into your own hand at this point on. You cannot sit back and say, well, I'm a federal worker. My job is protected or guaranteed. Let me tell you, federal workers used to be protected and guaranteed under our federal laws or whatever. They can, like, unless they did something really, really bad, they would be able to keep their jobs pretty much for life, right? It was hard to fire a federal worker. Federal workers, you know, I remember when you had a federal job, I remember they were like, oh, I can't be fired. Unless I'm like really late or really doing something unethical or illegal, I can't be fired from my job. That is no longer the case. The world has changed. The world is changing. And you do not own any of these companies, so you need to find another plan. You need to find a backup plan just in case you are, you know, you could be cut in these next couple of years, next couple of months. From what I'm getting from people reaching out to me, black women are losing their jobs like daily. It's like, and at a high rate. And I'm sure other people are losing their jobs, but I know the minorities are definitely losing their job. One of the things my sister brought up to me was I was telling her that there aren't even jobs available at, like, I'm using McDonald's, but you know, jobs like a McDonald's. You know, we consider McDonald's kind of like that, like I said, entry-level high school job, like the last resort job. Like if I can't find a job, I'll go work at McDonald's. You know how people would say things like that. It's not just McDonald's. I'm saying any company kind of like a McDonald's or fast food or retail. Those Walmart, Target, Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever. If you couldn't find a job in corporate America, you could resort to finding a job at these lower paying finding like a lower paying job. They are saying, people are reporting they can't even, with or without a degree, cannot even get a job at the lower entry level jobs. And one of the things my sister said, she said, because when we were growing up, those jobs are occupied by maybe a retiree who wanted some part-time work or income and wanted to just stay busy, or a high schooler. Well, the high schooler eventually went to college, graduated, and moved on. But what's been happening over the last 20 years, she's noticed, and she's in California right now, but she's moved, you know, lived in New York, lived in Texas, lived in Florida, been overseas. So what she was saying was, did you notice that when you go into these stores, the same workers or immigrant workers who have been there like 10, 20 years ago are still there? And I was kind of thinking back at some stores I frequent, and I was like, I would always run into, you know how you say hi to certain people and be like, yeah, I always see that same person or these same people running this place. And she says because they don't move on, so those jobs have never opened up for the next generation. So just keep that in mind, that it is becoming hard to even get the lowest level jobs. Even if you because if you're applying for a low level job, they are gonna say you're overqualified if you have too much corporate experience or a degree or whatever. So a lot of times you have to take that off your resume if you have too many degrees or, you know, all that, because you look too overqualified for those jobs. But even if you did that, the jobs aren't even there. They're not even open. So, but of course you got to keep trying if you're out of work right now. You know, of course you're gonna do what you got to do. Racism in America, with the political leaders and the powers that be, the people that run this country, have always wanted to feel superior to other, or, you know, inferior and superior to other races. So, since they control the economy and the wages and the society, they can easily put black people back into poverty, you know, and this is what they're going to do. They're going to take the jobs and the resources. And I would encourage you, if you're, depending on your age, is to go back into history and just read about how your ancestors had to deal with when society discriminated against them. I think that's the best thing I can tell you to do if you were not raised to understand your history in this country. The way back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, a lot of black men, they had almost 20% unemployment rate for them. They couldn't find jobs at all. That's why you saw, you look back in history, see some of them on the corner, some of them, hanging out on a street corner, or like homeless a lot of homeless black men, because they couldn't give them jobs. Like, they didn't have opportunities for them. And of course, our crime was up in our communities a lot then too, because they didn't have any hope. So with racism and sexism, the way that they put women back in their place, or what they call back in their place, or the way that they suppress them, oppress them, is what I'm trying to say, oppress them, is they take away their means of earning. So you have to find another way to earn. You have to start creating your own business, your own companies. You have enough resources and technology to do so, and you also have enough globalization, meaning the world is now open for travel and expansion for you to do so. So there's no excuse not to do so. I would say another thing is we have to be wise with our dollars. We have always heard in the media and things like that our race is the consumerism race. We're the race that spends the most money at the stores owned by other people besides ourselves. We support the Arabs, we support the Indians, we support the whites, we support the Asians. And there's nothing wrong, of course, going to businesses that you enjoy their service or their products. But when times like this hit, you're gonna have to figure out how to hold on to the dollars that you have. So making sure that you're spending in your own community to support other black entrepreneurs and women, but at the same time making sure you're saving and investing your own money and dollars. There is hope, you guys. I just want you to know that if you have already been laid off and you're already struggling right now, what I was gonna say is, like, you could still multiply the money you have. If you're getting unemployment, if you have some savings, you can still, in the terms that, like the street terms they use sometimes, flip that money. You can flip that money or invest it in something to grow. Don't use it all. Of course, be really strategic and wise with it, but figure out what kind of opportunities you can create with the money you do have, and try to find something that's low cost startup. In my coaching program, I do show people how to get $100,000 to $300,000 in loans and money, where you don't need to, it doesn't affect your credit score. You don't need credit to get it. So I do show people how to do that. And that's money you can use to live off of if you need it. And that's money that can probably sustain you until you grow your business. So I just want to say, Black women, if you're going through this, we're resilient. We're very strong. Our ancestors have been through way worse. They didn't even have cell phones. They didn't have cars. They had people, hosing them down, sicking dogs on them, hanging them from trees. They weren't allowed to buy investments, houses or stocks. They weren't allowed to get money and loans from the bank. They weren't allowed credit, and they still found a way to survive. So we will definitely survive this upcoming recession or new world that they're creating. So I just wanted to share that with you. Make sure you guys, like I said, like and subscribe to this channel. I'm going to be producing more videos. My contact information is below the video and in the About Me section of the channel. And you can reach out to me if you need any help with planning your corporate escape. I have already been through this. Like I said, I've already been discriminated against, sexually harassed in the workforce, laid off, not been able to find work for years. I had to just learn how to do this on my own, find another way to create income for myself. So I definitely understand how to help you and what is needed, and I understand, how this system works, now. So I'm definitely here to help you if you need help. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'm gonna see you in the next video.
Would I be wrong to say that this country is committed to doing everything in its power to prevent Black women from generating wealth?
300,000 Black women lost their jobs in the last 3 months, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
I don't give a fuck about that shit.
Okay. All right. Well, I need you gone by 4 p.m. This is too much. This is not.
350,000 Black women have lost their jobs in 2025.
350,000 Black women have lost their jobs, and instead of y'all talking about that, y'all want to talk about what?
I am one of the 300,000 Black women who have lost their job in 2025.
300,000 Black women have been laid off in the last 90 days just in 2025.
Over the course of the past 5 months, more than 300,000 Black women left the labor force.
So I am part of the 300,000 Black women that has been laid off out of the job force.
I just lost my job today.
The reason why Black women cannot get a job right now,
I will be losing my job after September 30th.
I just got fired from my job, and I know that I'm qualified. I know my talents. I know what I bring to the table.